Calvin. Calvin is the main antagonist of the 2017 science fiction horror film Life. He is a deadly multicellular alien organism believed to have wiped out all life on Mars and recovered via a sample brought aboard the International Space Station. Each of his cells functions simultaneously as muscle, nerve, and eye, granting superhuman strength, accelerated growth, stealth, absorption capabilities, the ability to transform its cells into any type, and human-level intelligence. Calvin was revived by the ISS crew from hibernation, then immediately turned hostile, attacking Hugh Derry's hand during testing, crushing it, escaping containment using a tool, devouring a lab rat, growing, consuming Rory's organs after entering his body, and breaking free into the station's vents. It then stealthily attacked crew members, causing the death of the captain by damaging her spacesuit, and later covertly feeding on Hugh by attaching to his leg unnoticed. It repeatedly evaded containment, stole coolant to fuel its growth, demonstrated extreme resilience to fire, high-voltage shocks, time and space, and even survival of depressurization attempts. Ultimately, Calvin pursued the surviving crew, disrupted mission rescue attempts, and forced David Jordan to lure it into an escape pod. That pod re-entered Earth's atmosphere and landed in Vietnam, where the film ends on an ominous note as a local fisherman opens the hatch and sees Calvin consuming David. Calvin's fate thereafter unknown. His goals were to kill the ISS crew, which he temporarily succeeded in, and potentially wipe out life on Earth, acting as a predatory alien apex organism.
M.U.T.O. The M.U.T.O, massive unidentified terrestrial organism, is a giant parasitic titan species in Legendary's MonsterVerse, first appearing as antagonists in Godzilla 2014. Ancient parasites from the same era and ecosystem as Godzilla, M.U.T.Os feed on radiation and are drawn to human-made sources such as nuclear warheads or reactors. The species is sexually dimorphic. The male, also called winged M.U.T.O or Hulk M.U.T.O, is smaller, with membranous pterosaur-like wings formed from a modified pair of forelimbs and uses echolocation and EMP pulses from its claws as weapons. The female, known as eight-legged M.U.T.O or Fem.U.T.O, is much larger, walks on 8 limbs, possesses a pouch for her glowing eggs, and emits an EMP field to disable electronics. The two known M.U.T.Os emerged in 2014 after spores incubated since 1999. The male hatched after their burial site was disturbed in the Philippines and traveled to feed at a Japanese nuclear plant, while the female, transported to Nevada, later hatched and journeyed across the U.S. to mate in San Francisco, constructing a nest powered by a nuclear bomb. During the nest defense, Godzilla killed them both, the male by impaling him into a skyscraper, the female by incineration from atomic breath down her throat. M.U.T.O Prime, aka Titanus jinshinhushi, is the parent superspecies introduced in the graphic novel Godzilla Aftershock. Strictly driven by survival, radiation consumption, and reproduction, M.U.T.Os care only for their progeny and will mercilessly destroy life and infrastructure to ensure their species thrives. Necromorph. Necromorphs are the primary antagonists in the Dead Space franchise, grotesque, reanimated corpses transformed by the influence of alien artifacts known as markers. They are mutated and repurposed corpses infected by recombinant alien microbes broadcast via the markers,
reshaping dead tissue into horrifying new forms driven by an instinct to spread the infection and convert more bodies. These creatures manifest in a variety of forms, from small spider-like swarms and blade-armed slashers to hulking brutes and alien origin variants like the alien necromorphs derived from long-extinct Tau volantis species. The marker signal causes cellular reconstitution within seconds, breaking bones, fusing tissue, generating heat, and creating improvised anatomy optimized for violence. Necromorphs are highly aggressive, attacking living targets on sight, and existing to kill or infect so that new necromorphs emerge. Organizations like Unitology worship them as heralds of a galactic-wide convergence event, feeding into the creation of colossal superorganisms called Brethren Mooms, massive necromorphs formed when an ecosystem's biomass is completely converted and ultimately fused into a lunar entity to spread the infection further. Combat requires precise dismemberment, destroying limbs, heads, or torsos to incapacitate rather than conventional kills. Enhanced variants appear across the series, darker, tougher, more resilient forms with greater health and attack power. According to some fans, necromorphs never truly die. Any remaining tissue may continue moving until it's physically impossible. Their design was intended to evoke a disturbing glimmer of the undead's former humanity, with visual inspiration from body horror, fungi, medical trauma, and violent improvisation.
Skrull. The Skrulls are a race of extraterrestrial shape-shifting reptilian humanoids created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and first appearing in Fantastic Four-2. They originate from the planet Skrullos in the Andromeda Galaxy. They were shaped by genetic experiments by the Celestials millions of years ago into 3 branches: Prime, Deviant, and Eternal, with the Deviant branch becoming the shape-shifting warrior caste that forms the core of the Empire. Historically peaceful merchants, the Skrulls evolved into an expansionist, imperialistic civilization after conflict with the militaristic Kree. Over 1 billion years of war eventually transformed them into conquerors who colonized or absorbed countless worlds across galaxies. Their empire, considered one of the oldest continuous interstellar empires, remains undefeated even amid civil wars or losses. Skrulls wield incredible abilities, including perfect shape-shifting into any form they've seen, expert espionage, infiltration, the crafting of weapons from their own bodies, and limited hypnotic or illusion powers. In comic storylines such as the Kree-Skrull War and Secret Invasion, the Skrulls have infiltrated Earth by impersonating heroes and leaders in an attempt to conquer the planet, a plan nearly successful during the Secret Invasion crossover event. While often portrayed as villains, frequently antagonists of the Fantastic Four and Avengers, they are occasionally depicted with nuance, as Skrulls with individual hopes, fears, and even heroic tendencies. In adaptations like the Captain Marvel film and Secret Invasion series in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they are shown as refugees fleeing Kree genocide, led by Talos, with sympathy and moral complexity replacing earlier villainous portrayals. The Flood. The Flood is an ancient alien race of parasitic organisms that infect sentient life across the Halo universe, assimilating any organic species into their collective and transforming victims into mindless, zombie-like forms. A single Flood spore is said capable of wiping out entire species, and they pose the primary secondary antagonist threat in Halo. The Flood originated from the Precursors, an advanced progenitor race. Some precursors survived by turning themselves into a powder meant to regenerate later, but corruption transformed that powder into the First Flood infection, resulting in a cosmic threat that nearly consumed all galactic life before the Forerunners intervened. During the ancient Forerunner Flood War, the Forerunners created the Halo Array, a galaxy-wide weapon designed to eliminate all sentient life and starve the Flood to extinction. This weapon later became the Covenant's misinterpreted Great Journey in their belief system. In gameplay and narrative, the Flood appear first in Halo, Combat Evolved, shocking the player midway through the game. They recur in later titles as relentless adversaries whose shock tactics and overwhelming numbers earned them recognition as one of gaming's most feared villains. The Gravemind itself debuted in Halo 2, manipulating both Covenant and the Master Chief to further Flood aims, before capturing High Charity and later battling on the Ark. It represents the Flood's collective consciousness and key strategic mind. After the activation of the Halos and events of Halo 3, the Flood and Gravemind were seemingly destroyed, but they reappear in later media such as Halo Wars 2, Awakening the Nightmare, demonstrating the threat was never fully eradicated.
Kaiju. The Kaiju in Pacific Rim are extraterrestrial bioweapons engineered by the Precursors, an ancient interdimensional alien race known as the Antiverse Dwellers. They first appeared when the Precursors opened a portal called the Breach on the floor of the Pacific Ocean, starting in August 2013 with Trespasser, targeting major coastal cities to exterminate humanity. Kaiju are massive amphibious creatures, each displaying bioluminescent features and extreme toxicity. Designed with varying anatomies inspired by reptiles, insects, crustaceans, and mythic dragons, to serve as weapons of war, not evolved life forms. Notable kaiju include Trespasser, the first, attacking San Francisco in 2013, Knifehead, Category 3, attacking Anchorage in 2020, Mutovore, Category 4, which broke through Sydney's defense wall at the start of 2025, Otachi and Leatherback, Category 4, sent to hunt scientist Newton Geisler, and Slattern, Category 5, largest and most lethal, entered in January 2025 to protect the breach. These creatures forced humanity to build giant mechanical robots called Jaegers, piloted by mentally linked duos, to combat them. Over time, the kaiju adapted and grew more intelligent. Knifehead exhibited strategic behavior, and Slattern showed high cunning and power. In Pacific Rim Uprising, the Precursors evolved the kaiju threat further by merging three kaiju, Raijin, Hakuja, and Shrikethorn, into a massive mega-kaiju to trigger volcanic activation of Earth's Ring of Fire for terraforming, another failed Precursor plan. The kaiju are alien-engineered monsters whose sole mission is to devastate humanity and terraform Earth as the vanguard of the Precursor invasion.
Q. Q is a fictional extra-dimensional entity and the name both of a character and of a race, members of the Q continuum in the Star Trek universe, most notably portrayed by John Delancey. First introduced in Encounter at Farpoint, 1987, Q is depicted as an almost completely omnipotent being, able to manipulate time, space, physics, and even reality at will, though he is often evasive about his motives. He recurs across multiple Star Trek series, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Picard, and Lower Decks, frequently acting as an antagonist who enjoys tormenting humanity for sport or moral lessons. Classified as a misanthropic trickster villain, Q combines arrogance, condescending wit, and a penchant for chaos with an underlying respect and even fondness for Jean-Luc Picard and humanity's potential to evolve.
Initially, he appears to judge humanity to assess whether it poses a threat to the universe, but over time his role evolves into that of a teacher or coach for Picard and the crew, albeit through disruptive and often destructive interventions. Though presented as a villain in many episodes, Q occasionally demonstrates empathy or vulnerability, for example when he is stripped of his powers and forced to live as a mortal, revealing regret and internal conflict about his behavior. He is a rogue member of the Continuum, frequently using his sway for mischief and philosophical provocations, while occasionally acting heroically or compassionately when deep down he admires human resilience and moral growth.
Rathtar. Rathars are non-sentient, carnivorous cephalopod creatures native to the swampy world of Tuan Kati. They grow to roughly 1.68 meters in body length, up to about 6.09 meters including their tentacles, and weigh around 650 kilograms, featuring red skin, puce eyes, green blood, numerous eyes, and whip-like tentacles tipped with adhesive pads for mobility and prey capture. They lack a skeletal structure, have hard, rubbery exteriors that resist blaster fire, move swiftly by curling their tentacles into a rolling ball, and possess radial, funnel-shaped mouths lined with rows of razor-sharp teeth, and expandable throats that allow them to swallow prey, tearing it apart piece by piece. Rathars reproduce via fission, enabling rapid population growth, and exhibit pack hunting behavior, using howls at frequencies beyond humanoid hearing to communicate, and growing smarter when in groups despite having primitive, rudimentary senses and small brains. They are infamous throughout the galaxy as highly dangerous beasts, known to be trapped and smuggled by decadent collectors, involved in the notorious Trillia massacre by dwarf Rathtar subspecies, and were featured when Han Solo agreed to transport them on the freighter Eravana for King Prana, only for them to escape and wreak havoc aboard the ship, including clinging to the Millennium Falcon during their escape.
Hey everyone, thank you all for watching until the end. I'll be back with more videos, so make sure to like and subscribe.